to him, "Tell us by what authority you are doing these things, or who is the one who gave you this authority?" Peter said to them, "I will also ask you a question, and you tell me, was the baptism of John from heaven or from men?" They reasoned among themselves, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say, 'Why did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, all the people will stone us to death, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." So they answered that they did not know where it came from. And Jesus said to them, "Nor will I tell you by what authority I do these things."
Okay, all right. Thank you. Those of you who have public speak before or made a comment in a group or a room full of people, have you ever made that comment publicly and someone interrupted you with a comment while you were talking? Has anybody ever gone through that? What was it like?
Frustrated?
Hmm.
Frustrated?
Okay. Jesus did a lot of public speaking in the 3.5+ years that he had his ministry. And someone always said something or questioned Jesus about his authority. It's unfortunate that he went up against this opposition early in his ministry, but Jesus seen something that we didn't see. Jesus seen people wanting to kill him. He really did everything he humanly possibly could to press forward for humanity. Someone turned to the wedding at Canaan. Someone pull that story up. And someone go to Mark 11:29-33. Mark 11:29-33. Have any of y'all ever been in a debate? Anybody in school ever been in a debate? Had to debate somebody? What were some of the most important things you had to learn about being a debater?
Listen.
Listening. What else?
Controlling yourself.
Hmm.
Controlling yourself. Restraint.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Reasoning.
Reasoning.
Yeah, because when they hear the question, you have to.
You got to have some sort of sense of discernment, right?
Yeah.
But you got to listen first and then discern what people are saying. What else? Have some knowledge of what you're talking about and what the other person is talking about. If you give it the debate title, you have to study up on the subject matter, right? So that means when you come to the debate, you got to have everything in order about what you think the person is going to talk about, because the other person is going to debate you. This wasn't something unusual in Jesus' day. It's just that Jesus knew what their intent was. And most of the time when they debated Jesus, they made it perfectly clear about the subject, because he usually said something in the reading in the synagogue or in town or at someone's house or in the public way that got them very upset at the very beginning. You know, after the wedding, they wanted to do what to Jesus in that first miracle? What did they want to do to Jesus?
You mean when they talk about this?
When they took him out to the, if you have the story, they took him out to the cliff. What did they want to do to him? They wanted what? Now, Luke records that is Jesus' first public miracle. And Jesus walked right through them because he knew what their intentions were. So if that is Jesus' first, does that put us chronologically in Jesus' ministry? Did that put us at the end or in the middle, at the beginning? At the beginning? Okay, so Jesus ministered for how long? How many years? About 3+ years? Okay, so 3+ years Jesus ministered, and in those 3+ years, did he get any better? Why didn't he get any better? Why did his ministry get any better?
Why did Jesus' ministry get better? Because it was going against everything contrary to what they believed. And Christians didn't want to see that. It was interrupting their lifestyle. So it made it very difficult.
Okay. Anybody else?
They want to hear it.
They want to hear it? Why didn't folks want to hear the beautiful message of repentance and salvation? Why were they connected with Jesus?
Because they wasn't living what they was preaching. Jesus realized that. So he was showing them up.
Okay.
I mean, Jesus had power. Some people, they didn't believe. So it wasn't that no one believed, but when you're trying to go up against the status quo of the system, like it is today, there is going to be some opposition. And again, they're waiting and expecting some other type of Messiah. And so when Jesus comes on the scene, everything he does, they want to discredit him. And then people that believe in Jesus, they were at risk. Their lives were at risk as well.
Anybody else?
Being a Jew required that you were under the Jewish law, and that was the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin. If culturally you decided to do something different, you would be almost excommunicated from the community, from everybody else. So this wasn't a time also where there wasn't other people. I mean, John the Baptist was preaching, many people were coming to him. And even the Pharisees, Sadducees and Pharisees didn't like to hear what he had to say either. Especially when you start to say stuff against the leadership at that time. John the Baptist against Herod was, we see where that ended up eventually. That there was a lot of reason why people wouldn't have came to Jesus, because they were afraid. Some of them just didn't want to believe yet that this guy. So later on, when they started to see these miracles and these things taking place, some eventually start to realize that, hey, this is different than what we've seen before.
In this debate to one another, why was it so important for Jesus being on the listener end intently to what they were saying? Jesus had a lot going on. And by the time we get to his last week, now, my Lord, he had a whole lot of stuff going on. But when he's debating them about the law, why was it so important for Jesus to listen to what they were saying about the law? Because right now, when you are out in public, someone interrupts you and debates you on something, you got to know what you're talking about. But a lot of people know the Bible. A lot of people know what the Bible says. They don't do it. They don't, implement it in their church. But a lot of people will talk scripture. Why is it so important for you as a listener? People are saying, and then debate them on what truth is. Why is that so important for you as a listener? Why was it so important for Jesus to listen to what they're saying? Because remember, they were talking the law that he did not come to abolish, or that he was born into, or that Jesus as God gave to them. So why was it so important for Jesus to do that? What were some of the things that, if you were Jesus and they were quoting certain things, like in Mark chapter 11, and we got off the whole triumphal entry, and Jesus is talking some things to them. He goes into the fig tree. Every time he says something, and they took it personal, because most of the time when Jesus says something to these religious people, he was directly talking to them about the law, what they did to it, and their response to him. So as a listener, why was it so important publicly for him to listen to them and then?
Jesus knew what is wrong according to time, according to the situation and moment. And he wants to know what is the people's the understanding at the moment. There is just so many different situations, so many different the moment that Jesus said something and people asking something. There's so many things. I'm just bringing this sample. The Nicodemus come and asking something different, but Jesus spoke out differently. Likewise, there is so much thing. So we cannot tell why he did likewise, but we just know, and time, according to time, he just spoke out at the time when it's time to speak out.
Okay. All right, somebody read Mark 11 and read 29 through 33.
Jesus told them, I will ask you a question, answer me, and then I will tell you by what authority I do these things. Was the baptism of John from heaven or from men? Answer me. And they reason and argue with one another. If you say from heaven, he will say, why then they do not believe him? But on the other hand, can you say from men? For they were afraid of the people, because everybody considered and held John actually to be a prophet. So they replied to Jesus. And Jesus said to them, neither am I going to tell you what authority I have for doing these things.
What was Jesus' mission here on earth? I know he to go to the cross and die for our sins, but what else?
The bringing message, the message that's sent by God, and he has to speak up that all things that people have to hear, and that message have to deliver, and they have to learn what is the God's wanting.
And what word defines what you just said for humanity? Jesus, John, Jesus, what word? If you can come up with one word that defines what you just said on his mission to humanity, was what?
So humanity,
It hangs everything on what Jesus did. Just one word.
Authority.
Starts with an S.
so
Sin.
Then
People didn't know what sin was. They was detached. The religious leaders were talking one thing. Not everybody was affected by Jesus. Matter of fact, not everybody cared. Not everybody was in a situation where something was wrong with them and they needed to be healed. Not everybody was at Jesus' crucifixion. Half of the people in Rome was going on about their daily lives. God knew that through the seed, humanity will get to Jesus' earthly ministry state of mind. Jesus came here to die for the sins of humanity. And that was his doctrine, that was his agenda, and he was misunderstood because the religious leaders of his day, what else? They didn't preach this, that's for sure, because nobody drew near them. They were preaching and teaching something entirely different. What was that?
Life.
Think about it before you answer. Following them. Patrick had alluded to it with them being a nation. In order for you to captivate somebody, you got to be teaching something that they want to hear. You got something that has changed. There was nothing wrong with the law. The law from generation to generation was written down, and everybody in the synagogue heard it. But the Pharisees, the religious leaders, the Sanhedrin, and all of them did something to the law that irritated Jesus. And because of that, they had the people howl. Because they weren't talking about this. They weren't talking about sins. What did they add to the law? And they were good at it.
Well, they were adding their own, they were good at adding their own commandments to the law.
Right.
And they were teaching those commandments as if they were doctrine, and so people were following it. They believed what they were saying.
Off the top of your head, and you should know this out of the Bible, how many differences there were at the time of Jesus? Because a whole lot of people, like it is today, denominationalism is real big today, and it was real big in Jesus' day. Had all kinds of things to say about one law. So how many, off the top of your head, how many religious groups debated Jesus? From Judaism.
The Pharisees, the
Pharisees.
The
Sanhedrin itself was a non-given, God-given group. Pharisees, Sadducees, who else?
lawyers.
Lawyers, who else? Who's the penmanship people? The scribes. The scribes. Who else? Starts with an H. Hellenists. Hellenistic Jews. Leaders, elders, all these groups came together at Jesus to do what to him? They all camped along him at the very part of his ministry. When he started getting popular, they all came at Jesus as one force, one camp to do what to him? To destroy him. And when they wanted to destroy him. Why? Ruby, you said it earlier. You said it earlier. Why?
Because what's wrong with children, they was trying to, they have the laws, but they wasn't doing it, right? And when he tell them what he knows, because he's God, right?
Okay.
So they're letting everybody think they're so perfect, right? And they wasn't, in Jesus' eyes, there was not.
Right.
Because they just want people to see them and worship them or whatever and believe in them, but they just wasn't doing what they're supposed to do in
Okay.
Jesus' eyes.
Okay. All right. What two questions in Mark 11 that we just read? What two questions was asked by the religious leaders, the elders? 27, it said they came again to Jerusalem as he was walking in the temple. The chief priests, the scribes, the elders came to him and said to him, by what authority do you do these things, and who gave you the authority to do these things? What two questions?
Who are you and who gives you the right? Who are you and who gives you the right?
Who are you? Who are you? In Acts chapter 13, Paul and Barnabas went to the synagogue of their first missionary journey, and as were their custom, and as were the custom of the Jews, anyone can come to the synagogue chief priest would ask if anybody has a religious question to ask. I want to know what authority Jesus had. Why? Why did they ask Jesus that question?
Because he know more than them. They realized he know more than them, and they realized he was finding out everything they're thinking and all that stuff. So he always answered them with a question instead of answering what they asked him. So they were trying to just trap him and lose to him, right? So
Okay.
they begin to be afraid of him instead.
All right, go down to verse 29 and just read it again. Jesus answered and said to them. Here we go with the debate.
And then I will tell you by what sort of authority I do these things.
Okay. When you're debating someone, do you use this technique? Because everybody in this room have talked to somebody about their faith and your faith. Jesus was comfortable with his word usage. He didn't have a problem with what he knew. He knew it. And the Pharisees thought they knew it. They thought they was going to trick him because they had an ulterior motive. About what he had to say, they wanted to trip him up. Why did they want to trip him up? Because if you keep reading, you will see that in this story right here. You see it. It's right there at the end of the story. So I got evil intent on my mind, and I'm trying to be disruptive when the speaker is publicly speaking. You already know one thing a speaker knows when he speaks or she speaks. The spin. You haven't even touched the hem of mind-boggling amount of time that I have spent presenting this message to you. The hours that I have put in. A 5-minute, 15-minute, 45-minute talk that I'm getting ready to give you. Keep me on something that I spent hours upon hours, books upon books. You in for a rude awakening, because I definitely know what I'm talking about. So if you're going to debate me on what I know, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. And so they were trying to do what to Jesus? What was their primary purpose in debating Jesus? This went on for 3.5 years. It was agitating and aggravating. He's getting ready to die. Back to the Father, he got to accomplish this mission, and they're still on the same wavelength. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Primary purpose to trip him up was to what?
I think the word that's used right in here is authority. I think the Jews thought that their authority was being questioned. Whenever Jesus spoke, he basically, in a roundabout way, told the people that what they're doing is different than what they're saying. And their heart isn't in the right place.
Right.
And in turn, it was Jews here that if they could prove that Jesus had no authority that was given by anybody of importance, then no matter what he said, really wouldn't be taken in the same light. Here is basically, putting the premise back on them again, basically saying, really in a roundabout way, who gave you the authority that you have in my Father's temple, basically?
He said that, great answer. He said to them, I also will ask you one question. He never answered that question. He asked them a question. Then he imposed it back on them and demanded that they answer him. But that's what they were demanding out of him. So if you're going to make me look stupid, I've got something for you here. What they were trying to do, they were trying to discredit him. They were trying to make his authority look like it came from absolutely nowhere. He had no merit to talk about what he was talking about. We got him. Up until the time the man died, they constantly came around publicly to make him look silly. And some people do that. In a debate, people want to win in a debate. They want to discredit what you're talking about in a debate so they can be the debater. People do it all the time. You do it in school all the time. You do it in, I know you be doing it in law school. People debate all the time. When the defense attorneys stand up and the prosecutors stand up, they're trying to convince the juror that you are guilty, innocent. So they're going to debate the truth that's in front of you. Good talker, you're a smooth talker, and they can discredit the defense attorney. That guy's going to jail. If they can discredit Jesus, he has no merit. They can kill Jesus, punish him. Because he doesn't make any sense. You?
I believe that they didn't really believe that he was the Son of God. And then they're talking about, all right, he is Mary and Joseph's son, and things like that. They want to know who gave him the authority. Because if the things that he got from the good people is from his Father, which is in heaven, and a power. They couldn't believe that. Wasn't looking at him as the Son of God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is why they didn't believe.
They knew the Messiah was coming, right? Every generation, somebody was going to birth the Messiah.
But they wasn't looking for him.
The Messiah came, and what was the Messiah like? Didn't Jesus fulfill all prophecy and everything spoken about him in the Old Testament? Why didn't they see that? Was there anybody on planet Earth at that particular time did the things that Jesus did? Because if you don't believe me, believe the things that I've done. If you're not going to believe me, spoken about him, he fulfilled in the law, and they were good at the law. They scribed it, they defended, they talked about it, they preached it, they taught it in the synagogue, and here it is.
But it wasn't living the life that they're supposed to live. They preach one thing and they're practicing something else. They're living a different life.
Okay.
So this is why coming to show them. We speak about the fig tree and the vine and all these things to show them. He is the head of it. He is God. Put it this way. He is God. And every good thing comes from God. They didn't believe him. So this is why he continued giving them parables. He continually giving them parables. Because they figured they had it all. This is my favorite. This is why he called them whitewashed tombs. He wasn't getting it. They're living, they say one thing and they're living a different life. This is like us today too. We preaching the word, we talking the word, we teaching, we studying with people, but our lifestyle is far different than what we say.
Did you have any?
Uh, 31. I just want to the next second here. John chapter 10, verse 31, verse 1. Verse. Then the Jews stormed again, and Jesus and from my Father. For which of those were they storming? The Jews answered, we did not stone you. Blasphemy. They were blaming, accusing him. Their law, he broke their what the Moses gave it to them, and everything he's accusing is he is out of their rules and regulations. Man caught in the beginning, and then later they blaming him. This man is not from God. Therefore, there was a totally drastic change from them. Jesus was way alone, and they all were one side. And people just listening what the good is, and even because of him, they said, "Who can hear him?" So many controversial. something they didn't understand. Even the Samaritan woman is not a Jewish lady. She knew someone had to come to save. It's called the Savior. But he's still, Jesus spoke clearly. You spoke. But no one understands like that. This is very, very that people who have here where they couldn't hear, they couldn't understand. Time was not great.
Y'all think they go on today? Have you been listening to some of the debates on the news channels today? Somebody let you get your word in? No. You yeah. People can hear a lie, believe it, and teach it, and preach it, and tell us the truth, knowing full well you just presented them with the information that was not true. They do it all the time. They did it to Jesus. Have you ever had someone question the story you were telling? Yeah. First thing people say is what? That's a lie. That's a lie. People do not believe the truth. Plus years, in big time he opened his mouth, told him any idea at all what that's like in your. Remember, they didn't know God. They tried to kill Jesus from the very beginning of the ministry, and they were not successful for 3+ years. So this was just another tactic of theirs to try to take Jesus out. So, okay, here we go again. We did not make it this time. We didn't get him this time. Jesus knew that his time was at hand and that the debating time was over. I ain't got nothing else to say here. You want a sign? I'm through with signs. I'm through with miracles. I'm getting ready to die here. It's not long to die here. And matter of fact, some of y'all I'm not going to even see anymore. Some of y'all not going to even be here. You're going to die in your condemnation before 70 years when God is going to take the rest of y'all out. Y'all just don't listen to me. You constantly, for 3+ years of my ministry, haven't listened to me. And it's getting ready to end. I know that. He tried his very best to get his disciples to see that, but they didn't understand it either.
Is it helpful? Because I don't know. I'm talking to them, showing them they have the Bible in their hand and they're reading it and I'm trying to explain it. And what Beulah, and they're changing the subject. And for me personally, I just pray and ask for the because at times I get so angry. They're not getting it. You have the book in your hand. You're not from my Bible, from your own Bible. And you still don't believe. You're still twisting the word to suit you. I just that. It's very hard.
You know, if Jesus did not equate himself with God, and I think that's what really, that's like the start of killing that for religious community, because they thought he was blaspheming against God. The person that would equate himself with God, they were looking for a Messiah. They totally forgot about the book of Isaiah. They forgot about what was prophesied. They expected the Messiah to come in and with some reigning glory to rescue just the Jews. And then you have a man come on the scene proclaiming to be the Son of God, saying that he and the Father is one, that the message he delivers to them is the same message he gets from God. Not only does he welcome the Jews, now he's bringing the Gentiles into the mix. Like, they were so against everything he was saying, so not to believe anything he was saying. And the fact that he equated himself with God just was like it for them. Because how could you do that? Like, we're waiting. How could you do that?
But let's turn to Matthew 19. Here's another debate. Matthew chapter 19, starting in verse 3. Now, before we read this, I'm going to read this to you. There was great controversy that exists between the two known groups of religious leaders and thinkers of Jesus' day. The school of Hillel. Those of the persuasion of Hillel believed divorce could be for any cause, and those of the school of Shammai contended adultery alone was the case. There's your backdrop. Okay, so you got these groups right here that's coming before Jesus, and one group is going to believe one thing, another group is going to believe another thing, and this is the teaching. There's many, many things that are being taught, just like it is today. And what I'm trying to do is get you to see. Don't get mad, don't become hard and hard-hearted toward people, and don't get down on yourself, because people have been teaching stuff like this for years. Okay? So the difference in their understanding of unclean found in Deuteronomy 24 text is probably that the Pharisees were attempting to array Jesus with one of those other schools. Notice the first question. So somebody read now from 3 to 10.
Some Pharisees came to him to test him. They asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason?" "Haven't you read," he replied, "that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female and said, 'For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. No longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate.' Why then," they asked, "did Moses command that a man give his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away?" Jesus replies, "Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard. But it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another woman commits adultery." The disciple said to him, "If this is the situation between a husband and a wife, it is better not to marry."
Okay.
Jesus replied, "Not everyone can accept this word, but only those to whom it has been given. For there are eunuchs who are born that way, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others, and there are those who choose to live like eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Accept this, should accept it."
Okay. Now, check this out. It is important that we appreciate that Jesus was not of two common cliques mentally. Jesus went beyond the thinking of either school. So we know Jesus is not going to take one side or the other, because this is what Jesus did. Look and see what Jesus did. You're going to find this in 7:8. Okay? Back, Jesus went and he started talking about the real issue. And that's something that they were trying to trick him in. Back to the universal original language for marriage, the law itself in Genesis, quoting Genesis 2:21 through 24. The Pharisees, they tried to trap him up, but Jesus answered the second question to him by explaining the succession law, which is about in the written part of the divorcement, the law itself that was given to Moses to give to them, and practically expanded and restored the original moral law in Genesis, which he went back to and he explained that in 8 and 9. So again, you look, you're making, here's the truth, here's, you mentioned it, like we left the Bible, all of a sudden now in the debate, in the corner of such and such street, we're talking in the back room or something, we just left the Bible. So when you leave the Bible, you're going on to something else. So the succession law was the written divorcement, which they was trying to trick him in, trying to get him to say, na, but he didn't. He went back to the original teaching of the law, which was in Genesis, which they couldn't say anything to him then because it is the original law. See, they was very good with the oral law number 2. Confuse and turn people away from God because those laws made living too hard. How did we know that? Because one of the disciples asked, "Is it good then for a man not to get married? And if I got all this stuff upon me, should I even bother?" But that's the way people felt under the teachings of the Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, and lawyers, and all those people. See? And so Jesus always cleared it up when he went and when he debated them and when they tried to come at him sideways about something, he will go back to the original law. We can't save anybody. We can't make anybody get in the waters of baptism, but what we can do is just tell them the truth. Even though they're going to interrupt our stories when we're talking, even though they're going to say we're not, make sense. Even though they're going to say it's not the truth, we have no other choice but what we have in our hand to tell people the truth. To be that way. It was like that with Jesus. And it's like that with our family, our neighbors, our co-workers, our friends. People want to debate us on these matters. Some going to think it's stupid. Some going to think it's real. Some going to say, not right now. I don't want to hear it. Like Felix, I want to live my life the way I want to live my life. But the truth won't change. But if we take his pattern and walk according to the pattern that he had when he was teaching people, we won't get so frustrated the way we do and not say anything about Jesus at all. Because see, that's what happens to us today. Right now, this city right here is saturated with religion. From one corner of the city to the other, it's saturated with religion. Matter of fact, I've run into more people, and you have too, that say, God bless you. Blessings. Pray for me. Everybody got their own way of looking at God. Saying, well, they've been always saying this because it's popularly said in Washington. In God we trust. God bless America. God bless the United States of America. They say that, but they try to take God out of America. Until something goes wrong, then it's God bless the United States of America. So see, you can't have it both ways. They can't have salvation their way, and Jesus come along with a different doctrine, and they debate him on truth. He said what in John? I am what? I am the truth and the life. And no one comes to the Father except through me. So I'm bringing you all the tools you're going to need, and God is not excluding the very people that you exclude.
It hurts in a way, Ellis, because as Christians, we know the truth, and we know the truth shall set you free. We know if we not obedient to God, we're going to end up. So when you love a person, and I don't mean every people in church or your relative are speaking about love. You love somebody, you will want them to see them or know that they're going a separate place, go to hell or the fire, the lake of fire. You don't want to see them there. So you trying your best to show them where they're wrong and this is the truth. We're looking for the truth, and this is the truth. The word is the truth. And this is what we have to stick for, the truth. Not a name on a building or what, as I said to one person, God said in Isaiah 55, your thoughts are not mine is not yours. So it's not how I think. Not what I think is right. It's what the word say is right. Do we believe in the word? Do you believe in the word? And a lot of people don't get it. It does hurt me. I get upset because I'm trying to show you the narrow road and you're still heading for the broad road,
Mm-hmm.
And it is frustrating.
And the scary part, Bill, is we've gotten like the people of Judea. We don't know anymore. We just don't know anymore. I mean, we as Christians, as baptized believers, just don't know anymore. I mean, I've never seen, when I was young, there was a great deal of respect and zeal for the Lord among people down in our age. Children, I mean, kids don't care today. Christian kids, I look at some of these Christian kids out here, I'm talking about brothers and sisters' kids. These kids don't care. Kids not like, man, I'm tired. And people are tired. People are religiously tired. And those of us that have the truth, man, why in the world should I debate these people? I ain't getting nowhere. I'm not going to get anywhere with these people. Every time I say one thing, they're going to say another thing. So we just clam up, we shut down, and we don't bother. But Jesus had to go the whole way. John had to go the whole way. Paul had to go the whole way just so people can continue. Christians have no choice but to go the whole way just so people can hear the truth and see the truth being lived. And I know that it's tough for some people, but to throw in the towel and to have people bother you to the point where it bothers you that you don't even say anything anymore, out of that issue, because the world is going to be what it's going to be. It was here before you got here, and I got here. People have been living this way for a long time, but every time we see a big gap being preached, we see a society that is totally upside down. I was reading this article about a whole bunch of young people now. They're refraining from sex in high school and college. And I'm seeing people wanting to not be under that kind of pressure. And that they want to live a more comfortable life, a more life that's not stressed with relationships and all this kind of stuff. And people talking about you in cliques and all that stuff. People want to take a deep breath. That is going on in our society right now, that some people, a percentage of society, is saying, phew. And now you got young gospel rappers. I was listening to this gospel rap that Erica turned me on to. I'm listening to this poet guy that was speaking all these scriptures and stuff like that. And I'm seeing more and more young people just take a deep breath. People got tired of the war. People taking a deep breath. They're saying to relationships, just hold up. Just wait a minute. Come on. Because it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of decision making. It's a lot of consequent pain when things don't go right in those relationships. And a lot of people don't want that kind of pressure right now because life is tough. The average part of life right now causes us today to make some serious sound decisions, or we're going to be in a locked up room, hands over our ears like this, screaming internally. Because that's what the world is doing us today. Dev?
I just want to read and from John chapter 1, verse 9, 11. That was the true light, which is the light of every man, which is the world. And the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. So I definitely am with what you said, Judge. Maybe Jesus is coming here to finding his own, and he calling out. Maybe people who ever had to hear, who ever had to listen and obey, maybe that's it. The people who ever, they pretending, but they don't know, which is you every day you talking and you arguing and you trying to explain it, and they says they know better than you know. Same thing at my work. When all things comes at the bottom, finally, now he had to realize, and he said, no, I am belongs to this group. Already level. They're already level. You cannot change their mind. They already know that. You cannot. So therefore, your and my duty is to proclaiming his word. That's his job. Let the God work. If he wants to choose him, that he will listen and he will choose him. Otherwise, that therefore Revelation 3:20. I understand that now. It said coming and knocking door, listens him, and opens the door, and he will come in and eat it. That meaning is more force. So that's it. to say those people who ever said, thank you. At least you know this much. So many people don't do that much. That's all.
Close in John, Luke chapter 20 again, and verse 1. It said, now it happened in one of those days as he taught the people in the temple and preached the gospel, that the chief priests and the scribes, together with the elders, confronted him. I mean, he's busy. He's busy telling the word, he's proclaiming God to people, and they just interrupted him. They just came and confronted him. Let's go with the debate. Hey, and spoke to him, saying, tell us, what authority are you? Or who is he who gave you this authority? I mean, over and over and over and over again. He answered and said to them, I also ask you one thing, and you answer. John, was it from heaven or men? And they reasoned among themselves, so they literally huddled up together with all these different beliefs themselves, huddled up together and start talking among themselves and said, so if we say from heaven, he will say, why then do you not believe me? He say from men, all the people will stone us, for they are persuaded that John was a prophet. So the answer that they did not know was from. They didn't answer his question. You notice that. Okay? Just answered them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. And he didn't answer their question. Two can play that game. Okay? There are times when you have to cut the foolishness with people. Tear you down, you can't let it just bog you down where you can't think anymore. And you just say to yourself, I'm gonna go through this, here it is, I'm out of here. I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm gone. I've done that so many times. When you see him leave the Bible, you gotta leave. Because now it's getting ready to get into something else that you don't have time for, nor energy for. Okay? Any more comments or it is what it is in this society today, and folks going to do what they want to do and say what they want to say. And I am so embarrassed with all that's going on in America right now. I mean, they're showing the whole world through the news medias that we're shooting people and we're laughing at people, we're calling people names and all this stuff. It just makes our society and our country look like we're from Mars or something. I don't know, maybe in Mars they don't even act like this, but it's just so ugly right now. And I've never seen this kind of rhetoric and more morality and love for your neighbor as I'm seeing right now. You can't even go anywhere and say anything to anybody for fear that somebody's going to go off. You don't know what to say or what to do. You don't know where to go. You kind of like go in a hurry now, you know. And if things are not right, you don't make a comment. You just go ahead and get what you got to get and you leave out. God forbid you bump into somebody, step on somebody's toes. I will have a funeral service for you in 5 days. I mean, the way these people are today, I mean, it's just crazy. Okay? All right, let us go to our